Hello, welcome to Fictional Narrative. I'm Neri and it is Cozy Saturday, but not just any Cozy Saturday. Today is a follow-up video and it is for the Antique Bookshop Mysteries by Laura Gail Black. I said I was going to make this video a while ago, but I really wanted to get my thoughts together as much as possible because I went through these books so quick. This series was just that good to me. So if you don't know about the series, I would definitely recommend that you check out the video where I basically talk about the first book in this series and how good it is, and you can decide whether or not you want to see spoilers in there or whether or not you want to read any other books in this series. But for this video, follow-up videos, I am going to get into spoilers. So right off the back, that is your warning. So the Antique Bookshop Mysteries starts out with the first book called For Whom the Book Tolls, and that is introducing our main character, Jenna Quinn, who is basically trying to find a new start, and the person who reaches out to her is her uncle. And so she goes to HOKE'S FOLLY, North Carolina to be with him. And she comes and she stays the night because she's able to let herself in, only to find her uncle's body in the morning, and she's the main suspect. Not only is she the main suspect, but it seems like the police are trying to railroad her. Well, one police officer in particular, his name is Frank. Meanwhile, his partner, Keith Logan, kind of has a thing for Jenna. And I will say this is not a slow romance. They are like magnets to each other. And Jenna finds out really, really quickly that she has to be the one to solve the mystery to clear her own name. Because Frank has it out for her because of her history. I'm just saying, if you are basically going to start a new life so you can get away from a murder acquittal, you are probably not going to commit the murder of the closest person to you in that town. Luckily, Jenna does gain allies, and these are the friends for life type of allies that she's able to kind of rope into her sleuthing shenanigans. She does have a skill for it, so Jenna clears her name in the first book. So we know, unlike the last series I was reviewing, our sleuth was not the killer. She just happened to be the only person that was named in the will of her uncle. So she inherited everything. And now she has an antique bookshop in HOKE'S FOLLY, a new start, and she's slowly easing her way into it. In my opinion, she spent a lot of money real fast before she even looked at the finances of this bookshop, but that's neither here nor there. And for the record, For Whom the Book Tolls came out in 2020, and I rated it a 5 out of 5. It was a great start to the series. Better than just like a regular introduction book. It was just like you dive in, and it is so good. Now we're going to move straight on to the next book. It's called Murder by the Bookend. Now this one was actually really sad for me. In the first book, a librarian kind of helps Jenna figure out the different values of books. He used to work with Jenna's uncle, who has now passed, and unfortunately, he was murdered the night of a party that she had. And to Frank, for some reason, that means she the suspect, even though everybody is like, how could she be the suspect? She was like in eyesight. And for Jenna, she kind of puts herself in a position where I know the value of my books, and it is possible that it is the books that got this person killed. And you know what? For the first mystery, she was not wrong. Book got her uncle killed. The librarian is kind of like a little bit of a hermit. He has a past where someone who he was training really fell for him, and so Jenna's unraveling that, and on top of which she's unraveling the fact that other people in the town have specific like feuds with him. And then on top of that, there's someone scamming people with the value of books. And it is very, very interesting and also very distracting. Like, all the red herrings are very, very effective. The only thing that isn't effective was how the killer thought the story was going to end. It was a very satisfying payoff. It was just really sad because I liked the librarian. I didn't want him to be gone so soon. And I think that honestly, sometimes there are characters that I think would be more beneficial to keep than to get rid of. But you kind of also have to play with the rules of it has to be someone we care about, but we may not totally care about them too much if they do die, that sort of thing, especially when you're in your second book. Now, the killer had a plan. The plan didn't go to plan, so they moved to plan B. And thankfully, plan B didn't turn out the way they wanted to. Jenna lives. But in all of this, Jenna acquires a dog. She has a sidekick. That is, well, not really as much as acquiring a sidekick as the librarian had a dog who was there when his owner was murdered. And so she's taking in the dog as a foster, but she eventually finds that she's going to be the one to keep the dog. And let's be real, it's a cozy mystery. If there is a pet, there is like a 98% likelihood they end up with the pet. This book came out the following year in 2021. And I rated it a 4 out of 5. It was so sad. Like, it was sad. It was sadder than any of the books in this series. The author really carried it on that, but at the same time, I was like, I didn't expect that. And that being said, the second book was my lowest rating, so everything from here was just really, really good as well, like 5 stars. So we're gonna move on to book 3. In book 3, we kind of get a conclusion to Jenna's background. Now, Jenna's background, she was acquitted for murder and embezzlement, things like that, from her previous company. And in that company, I believe in book 1, we find out that she had a boyfriend while she was working for that company, but that boyfriend was a little bit of a higher up than her, like her superior, and he wanted to keep the relationship a secret. Red flag number 1, he's her superior. Red flag number 2, he wants to keep it a secret. And she doesn't know how, but someone randomly, with her credentials, logs in, embezzles a bunch of funds, and then somebody else ends up dead. Where does that bring us to in book 3? Well, HOKE'S Valley is a really quaint location to hold a wedding. It has this really crazy hotel that, it's not really crazy, but it's very much themed to a certain time period. People wear costumes, and it's a great place to hold a wedding. Not so great when your bride is a bridezilla and she doesn't get along with her future mother-in-law, who is convinced that she is a gold digger. The fiance is Missy. The groom in question is Blake, Jenna's ex. And Cordelia is his mom, who's tagging along and also really sad. She and Blake have a really strained relationship anyway, but beside the point. Jenna has to navigate this really, really carefully because, once again, she's kind of a suspect when Missy ends up dead. Already, you have your list of suspects. You have her bridesmaids, her sisters, an ex that just can't forget about her. She may not be the person he fell in love with, but maybe she can change. Maybe she's just not chasing after the money. She was chasing after the money. Blake's mother was right, but she is also on the list of suspects because she doesn't like Missy. Missy's friends also don't like Missy. Missy's sister also doesn't like Missy. Missy's fiance, Blake, doesn't even like Missy. Why would Jenna like Missy if their dating history with Blake overlaps? And now Jenna is dating the really, really gorgeous, really smart detective on the case, Keith Logan. It's a sticky situation, and unfortunately, no one is close enough to figure it all out except Jenna. It was pretty easy to guess who was a killer in this one, but it still paid off to go through the entire book and see how Jenna figures it out. I will say following Missy's ex-boyfriend into the woods because he was camping out there was not a good idea, but in this one, we find out who framed Jenna, who killed Missy, and the murder of that manager. So, it's like 3 birds, 1 stone, and Jenna finally gets to have her fresh start with her name cleared. And Frank can't do anything about her. Or can he? Because starting book 2, like just a little bit, but then a little bit more in this book and a little bit more in the 4th book, we're introduced to a committee that because there are so many bodies that have fallen around Jenna, she is a problem. They want to run her out. They have protests. They want to run her out so bad. Just these little old biddies. And I was angry for her. And she has, this fictional character is probably a better person than I am because I would have gone off on all of them. But that being said, we find that Frank Sutter is also going to be off the force, and he's still suspicious that there is a reason why all these bodies are falling around Jenna. And as we know, as a cozy mystery audience, they're just there. This one was a 5 out of 5 for me. It was brilliant beginning to end. Even if I could guess who the killer is, even if I could guess from book 1 what the other reveals were gonna be in book 3, I really enjoyed it just for the ride. Did I mention book 3 came out in 2002? 2022? It came out in 2022. So book 3 came out 2023. The reason I'm saying the years that these books came out is because where it left off is actually a good place to end a series. But I don't know if the series has ended. It may be. Tried to look for a few clues to maybe if there's a book 5. Haven't seen anything. So we'll see. But as is, there are 4 total books. And the last one came out in 2023. So the last book in this series thus far is Caught on the Book. Caught on the Book has a little bit of a different setting. Okay, so Caught on the Books takes place during festival time. So in Folks Valley, you have all of these shops, but there is a fishing festival. And so people will take some time off from their shop if they don't have anybody to man it, come out and put up booths, right? And there's this booth for an author local to the area. He's pretty known. I wouldn't say he's famous, but he's pretty known. He does deal with a writer's group in the local area, and he is kind of known as a ladies' man. The only lady we didn't realize he was going to be the ladies' man too in this book is Frank's wife. They're separated, headed for divorce. I mean, the relationship just isn't what it used to be. She's taken the house. Things have fallen apart a lot for Frank. He's living on a boat. Dude is kind of front and center for this whole festival thing. He also starts a fight with the author, so it kind of makes sense for people to think that he murdered the author. But did he do it? He doesn't remember. There are footprints, but that's after the fact. How do the rest of us know? Also, the person who's caught with the murder weapon in hand is Frank's ex-wife. Note to audience, if you don't know, if somebody is stabbed, you do not help them by pulling out the knife. I know it may seem uncomfy for them, but it keeps the blood in. Okay, so in this book, the way that the killer is revealed was crazy to me because Jenna has to go through this entire book trying to figure out who would want to kill this author and clear Frank's name because she and Keith just don't think it's Frank, even if he can't remember it, even if he's having memory problems. And you know what? The instinct is right. This is why I really like Jenna. She has really good intuition about this stuff. But by the end of this book, I don't really have a lot of sympathy for the author. He has theft accusations. He doesn't write his own books. He's built his success off the back of stealing women's novels and manuscripts. by seducing them. It was still a really fun time though, and at the end of this book, Jenna and Frank kind of bury the hatchet. She's kind of in the cusp of, I'm spending so much time at Keith's, should I just move in? But, you know, I like my apartment where I'm, you know, close to my best friend and I'm close to my shop. Frank is one of those people that find purpose and meaning in having a job. And because Jenna is constantly being protested, the idea was floated that Frank would be a security guard for that particular part of town where the lights are dimmer because it is historical and we don't want to modernize, and so people get away with, you know, killing somebody in the alley and running. That's why I'm saying where this book ends, the series could end, and it's fine. But I do hope it continues for me. This is a really fun series. One thing I will say is that the character development is slow. And the reason the character development is slow is because the time frame in which all of these mysteries happens is actually very quick. In view of the story, you're kind of almost having murder after murder after murder after murder. That being said, as a slow burn person, this one kind of missed the slow burn mark for me immediately from book one. But I guess that's okay, because when you are a cozy mystery sleuth and death is around every corner, a whirlwind romance is probably the way I would do it too. If you watched this far, thank you so much. So this is my second follow-up in all of the cozy mystery basically series that I've been doing, and this is really fun too. I kind of have to gather my thoughts a little bit more, but I hope that by seeing, you know, if the series kind of drops a little or if it still stays consistent, maybe you'll want to read it too and you'll enjoy it as much as I do. So thanks again for watching. Bye!